I get with ya? Can I get with ya? Why you wanna get with me? Cause I gotta make you get up. Hey, can I get with ya? Oh, can I get with ya? Hey, can I get with ya? Big booty, big.
Welcome, y'all, to the Role Player Podcast Watch Along, presented by Swish Cultures. I am Jordan Taylor, alongside my guy, Stanford Gentleman, and co-founder of Swish Cultures, Anthony Goods, and our newest member, man, we glad to have him, SEC and ESPN college basketball analyst, Richard Hendrix. Before we get into this, man, be sure to hit the subscribe button below and follow along on all socials with the handle at Role Player Media and at Swish Cultures, man. Check it out, man. The USA is the first team in basketball history looking to avenge a win after a close 101-100 victory in an exhibition game in London against South Sudan. That put the youngest country in the world on the basketball map. But before we get to our game, Anthony Goods is going to break down what's going on around the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, we had a big day yesterday. A lot of interesting outcomes. Spain won 84-77. Santi Aldama led the way with 19 points, 12 rebounds. Despite a comeback from Greece, Giannis had 27 and 11. But the team only attempted 5 free throws, and that's Greece I'm speaking about, which is kind of weird, especially with Giannis getting downhill like that. In Group B, we had Canada facing off against Australia. RJ Barrett had 23.7 rebounds. SGA with 16 points. And Australia on the Australian side, Josh Giddey did his thing over there, but it wasn't enough. And France beat Japan, as most of y'all may have heard. It was a controversial win for France in overtime, 94-90. Victor Wembanyama led the way with 18 points, 11 rebounds, scored 8 points of France's 10 points in that overtime game, and Rui Hachimura fouled out with 8.5 minutes left to go in the fourth. So a lot of question marks surrounding that game around Twitter. And lastly, Brazil lost to Germany 86-73. Franz Wagner with 17 points, and Schroeder followed up with 20. But that's all from and then earlier today, obviously, Puerto Rico got smacked by Serbia, which was a little surprising for me, man. I thought Tremont Waters and them was going to put up more of a fight, but guess not.
A lot of firepower at that guard spot for Puerto Rico, as we know. A lot of Americans over there playing for Puerto Rico, but dual
Americans everywhere, man.
Americans everywhere, man. That is true. Listen, man, let's get into it. South Sudan was a wake-up call for the U.S., correct? They're 29.5-point underdogs today. We'll see how that goes. They were 43.5 the last time. That's a big jump because of the result. Rich, tell us, what does South Sudan, or what does the U.S. need to do today to get by South Sudan?
Well, I think last time was a little bit of a wake-up call for sure, but I know that platoon substitution style that Steve Kerr had in the last round in the exhibition is not something they're going to be going with. They're going to have to go a little bit shorter roster. They should. That South Sudan is ready to play. They're well coached. But I think Team USA is going to continue to keep their foot on the gas. They showed what they can do against Serbia. Serbia had a little punch in the beginning. I think South Sudan will do the same. But as this game goes on, it's going to be problems for South Sudan. I'm taking USA in a big one.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in their right mind would be thinking that South Sudan is going to come out here and run away with this one, man. I think USA gave everybody something to laugh about, joke around about, but I think now is where they put their foot on the gas heading into the playoff rounds.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I think they was in Tape. Tape is a popular club in London, man. Them boys was out partying last time they played South Sudan, man. They wasn't focused. I think they're locked in. They showed that in the last round. But listen, a lot of talk about Jason Tatum not playing, man. Steve Kerr was taking a lot of heat. A lot of people felt like he gave some BS answers. He is in the starting lineup today along with Anthony Davis, so he will play. What do you see Jason Tatum bringing to the table today, and who's going to have a big game if it's not KD?
Well, you know,
Rich,
I really think Tatum obviously really good player. I mean, but this is a situation where I don't know how much I was buying it that he just forgot that he was over on the sideline. This is a guy who we talking about who just won an NBA championship. He's an all-NBA performer and an all-star. I think it was more so about getting Kevin Durant established in that game, which obviously he didn't miss a shot and playing really good basketball. But you got to be able to find some minutes for Tatum. But when it comes to Team USA, when you have so many star players, it's going to just be about who's ready to give what they can on each night. Every single game is going to be a different game. So to see him in the starting lineup, I expect him to be ready to show what he can do.
Goods, real quick.
Nah, man, I think Tatum, I think you just plug him in and plug somebody out, man. That's the whole purpose of having this all-star team of a roster. Everybody can I don't think this stage is too big for any player on that bench. So, I mean, it is hard to play 12 guys over 40 minutes. So let's shoot Steve Kerr some bail on that one. But I think probably Derek White probably sits a little more this game.
Steve Kerr did mention that he did let Jason Tatum know that it could play out that way, but he is in the starting lineup today. I think it's a big game for Steph Curry. As we're about to tip off, this is the Role Player Podcast presented to you by Swish Cultures. We're underway. Devin Booker's got the ball handling. South Sudan, though, plays with really physical, a lot of pace. What do you expect from them today in terms to stay in the game with the U.S.?
The physicality. They have the athleticism. They have the ability to switch so many multiple positions. So they got to play their game. I think if they can kind of try to control the pace and get it up tempo, I'm not so sure if that benefits them, but that's the style that they're going to have to play. Carlik Jones is going to have to really be the one that controls it in the half-court set. If he can get in that pick-and-roll set and start to be able to break things down, Goods, like you said, he can be a real big maestro for this team.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to, though, the USA's pick-and-roll coverage. I think they have a lot of options of, being able to switch, being able to play in a drop, touch and go. I think there's a lot of that's kind of the beauty of having such versatile pieces for Team USA. You could throw a lot of different looks at them, but I'm sure they went over the tape and they're not going to let Carlik Jones kind of run the show. But JT, who you think's the key for South Sudan today, though? That's the question.
I think it's two guys, honestly. I think, Wenyan Gabriel wasn't much of a factor in the first game and they stayed close. I think they have to find a way to get him involved. But I think guys like JT Thor, Nooni Omat are really who are going to be the key out on that wing, guarding LeBron, guarding KD, disrupting the U.S. wings, disrupting the U.S. guards in general. And then, of course, Shyok, I don't think, he's a key, but those two guys, namely those wings and how they disrupt defensively and also put pressure on LeBron and some of the older U.S. guys in the offensive side. LeBron off to a good start, man. What I want to know, y'all tell me, Rich, you could go first, or it doesn't matter. They went to Tatum right away. Now, is that to appease his feelings? Like, is that something like, oh, we got to get him the rock because he didn't play? Like, what do y'all think about that, man?
Jay, you know how it goes, man. They got to throw you a bone off the rip. Now, you got a guy who's coming in with so much confidence, average almost 30 points a game in the finals, and you doesn't get any burn in the tip. Come on, man. Like,
the champ
it's
is
too much that you're dealing with from people talking about it to not be able to give him the ball. So you got to give him the ball, let him see what he can do after he gets to start and let him go to work. I mean, now he's deserving of it, but that's what that's about.
Yeah, I think, man, you gotta give him some love, man. All the heat and all the pressure that he's probably been under, everybody blowing up his phone and whatnot. I think just for the simple fact of camaraderie, run a play for him. It's kind of like, how like your best scorer has a bad first half and then you come out in the second half and run that play for him, out the gate to try and get him going. I think that's what they're doing, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's definitely how much is it going to affect him throughout the tournament is what's going to be interesting to me. Like, I thought we talked about last show that, Americans have a tough time handling that type of stuff relative to international guys. I thought Jason Tatum handled himself extremely well. So I'm really interested to see how he's going to respond both from an aggressive standpoint and just on the basketball side, but then just his emotions when he goes to the bench. And I don't think today's going to be a big game for him. I think he might be pressing a little bit too much, but I think I'm more excited for Celtics fans because all the snubs that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are getting right now, it seemed like they was a little bit too much on a celebratory tour after that win. So they're going to come back hungry next year, man. But listen, we got a lot of special guests for y'all. United States up 6-0. We got Kwame Brown on the way. We got Nick Fazekas on the way, and we got Keith Langford on the way. So make sure y'all tune in. They'll be joining the show. A lot to talk about, adding their insight on both the NBA game and the international game. Moving from that, some of the game notes, man. How do they slow down Mariel Shiop? He is a monster. And I know good. You said don't compare him to Keith Langford. I won't do it because there's levels to this. I know it, but he is of that ilk. He scores the ball. He shoots the hell out of it. He killed the U.S. last time. How important is it to not let him get going at all?
I think it's really important. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, he's one of the most dynamic scorers on that team. So I think, you have to throw different looks at him as well. I mean, I think Carlin kind of sets the tone and with his pace and his pick and roll play, but you also got to make sure that whoever he's distributing the ball to doesn't get off either. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a tall order to stop him, but somebody got to do it.
What you think, Rich?
Man, I mean, the way he plays is, when you got somebody get that kind of confidence, and you got to think with the confidence he has from the exhibition early on, he's got to have even more. This opportunity is the big stage, it's the real tournament. So they're not backing down for anything. When you talked about, the chip on the shoulder that they have, there's so many things, the lack of the facilities, the players from all over the world now coming together for South Sudan, they're going to be ready to play. I mean, you see right now, USA's up early, but it's going to be something that they're going to be able to settle down and try to see if they can keep it tight in the first half. They have some talent for sure.
Yep. Timeout by South Sudan. What y'all think of this response, man? It's tough rim attack there for South Sudan. They get a stop. They're coming back down. Like, what is a timeout really for the viewers, man? I never really believed. I'm dead ass serious. When someone calls a timeout, when teams make a run right after the timeout, like, what is that? Is that just, I don't understand. I never will understand why it seems to happen so much. Is it just the energy, emotional thing? Like, what y'all think?
I think you definitely got to calm things down. I mean, a lot of people don't believe in it. I mean, I've heard a lot of the analytics people say that the timeout really doesn't change anything. But for me, you get a chance to regroup. You must be an analytical guy, huh, Jordan? You think it doesn't change too much?
I think there's a time and a place for analytics, but like, I'm not an analytical guy. I wouldn't say all that.
I definitely think that you definitely got to be able to calm some things, because if you can make a possession, make a adjustment and make things change up just for 2 possessions, you can change the complexion of the game. It makes it hard for players to really be able to pick up what's going on. So, I mean, I'd be utilizing my timeouts for sure. Early, too. If I was a coach, I'm using them early. I'm burning them early. You can't take them with you.
Well, analytics guy's going to be mad right now because 7-0 run followed by the 6-0 start. Royal Ovie got his group together. Some turnovers by LeBron James, and that's going to be the U.S. The U.S. just gets sloppy, man. There you go. Ball, move the ball, get back cuts. That's what they got to do. If the U.S. plays as we know, like when they play like a cohesive unit, shoot, they might mess around and beat the Dream Team, man. What y'all think?
What you think, man? I mean, y'all know I'm old school. You know I'm old school.
Listen, we seen it before. You know what? Before we get into this, we gonna bring our first guest in, man.
Man,
go ahead.
Let's bring him to the stage, man. Let's bring him to the stage.
Yeah. We got a very, very special guest for y'all, man. The first overall pick in the 2001 NBA draft. One thing that, what I didn't know, though? I didn't know that you originally committed to the University of Florida. I did not know that. But listen, we got Kwame Brown here with us, man. What's up, man? You good?
Yes, sir, man. I can't complain, and nobody would care if I did. How y'all doing, man?
Good, man. We good. Appreciate you joining the show. Appreciate it. Listen, we gonna start you off hot. First topic, man. We got to get to the Dream Team. It was published that this team has faced 51 NBA players throughout this, or has faced 51 NBA players on this journey to gold or whatever they're on. The Dream Team faced 5. So what you think, man? This squad or the Dream Team?
It's Dream Team for me all day. They played together. They took the game way more serious. These guys, and Tatum just hit the side of the backboard just then. So they're not even in rhythm. This team, the lifeblood has been sucked out of this team for this narrative for LeBron James to play the way that he needs to play.
Well, you know,
Hey,
I'm definitely
you and Rich gonna be best friend. I was just about to say you and Rich Fenders. That must be a Southern thing. Y'all country boys, man. Y'all about to be best friends. Go ahead, Rich. Get on your soapbox,
Hey,
man.
Get me with it right out
Go
the
ahead.
gate. We got to have somebody on here to keep it real. Like, listen, we talking about some all timers. The mentality is so. Now we got some guys on this current team that's from that older school generation. But you talk about the synergy when you grow up playing pickup ball and open run, and you got to learn all that little stuff where you're not just working with a trainer, how to come in and mesh with people just on the fly. That 92 team was able to do that. I mean, that's a big difference. And you also understand when you look at this, it's hard for some people on this team to find their situation, find their role. So it's a difference when you comparing those older teams and older players to younger generations of guys understanding how to fit seamlessly without a lot of time and you without being the man. So that's why I'm definitely going to take the dream team in this one.
It'll be easy for the dream team.
Yeah.
And then
Easy.
they don't have
Easy.
it would be easy. KD is the only guy that is difficult to deal with. LeBron is 39, 40. He's just driving to the basket, putting his head down. These guys were big enough to deal with LeBron. They had Dennis Rodman. They had guys that can really go after LeBron, and he couldn't just overpower him. So from a skills standpoint, you got MJ. What it's enough said. You got MJ, you got David Robinson, you got some real guys that know how to play the game of basketball and not just this bully ball.
Kwame, don't do this to me, man. I listened to this man Rich for the last 6 years talk about Michael Jordan and how nobody can even you shouldn't even be able to come near Michael Jordan, man. Listen, I think I agree with y'all in terms of the feel for the game. And one of my questions for you is going to be centered around that. Like, I do think the older heads, they play better with the ball and without the ball, that being LeBron, KD, Steph. I think part of the problem is these young guys, Jason Tatum, and part of the reason he couldn't get on the floor is KD gets fouled, man. Part of the reason he can't get on the floor is he's so used to playing with the ball. You take the ball out of his hands, and it's almost like he's a fish out of water. So
that's the same thing. That's the same way LeBron would look. You take the ball out of his hand and make him stand in a corner and just shoot threes. It's the same thing. We just giving certain guys the green light.
I don't think LeBron is he's still skilled at least as a back cutter. LeBron's going back cut. He just had a back cut.
When have you ever seen him do it?
He did it with D-Wade. He just did it this game off a short roll. AD hit him out of a back cut for the 8th point of the game. He did it a couple times against who they just played, Serbia.
He had a backdoor cut. Drew Holiday hit him.
Yeah.
But
LeBron decides to play that way. I think other guys are incapable of playing that way.
But that's the same way he's been playing. He's a cutter, slasher, and he's developed a bit of a three. But the problem is when he plays teams like Chicago or Boston, who has real solid principles, he has trouble. And so the old school players wouldn't have no trouble with LeBron because at 39, he should have developed a mid-range and a post game, and he still hasn't yet because he still has the athletic ability to just go 94 feet, which I don't know how, but he still has it. But if he didn't have that athleticism, his game really hasn't evolved outside of a three and putting his head down and going to the basket. He don't go like Paul Pierce and get to a spot, pull up, and those are the things that you normally see out of a superstar player.
You don't think he's evolved you don't think he's evolved in the pinch post throughout his career in the mid post?
When he got Steph Curry on him.
I would refer y'all back to the 2018 playoff run, 2017 playoff run and 2016 where he lived out of that area regardless of who was guarding him.
Yeah, but then when he went back to Cleveland, he got a little bit smaller. He looked a little bit different, and then he went to Miami for 2 weeks, and then he started jumping again.
That's my bibiggest LeBron. I want to know what happened when he went down to Miami them 2 weeks after he hurt his back. They need to do a documentary on that.
He did some push-ups and sit-ups.
So that's what they call it now, push-ups and sit-ups, huh?
Yeah.
Is that what
he came back jumping out the gym?
You know what? I like my life, man. I'm not about to hypothesize on LeBron James or give any
me either.
theories.
I'm giving him props. I'm just giving him props. He was jumping out the gym when he came back.
Jay, we definitely give him props now. I'm just saying, if the question was posed as who's better from the 92 team or this team, you got to compare a prime Jordan right there, just coming off 2 championships, compared to a 39-year-old LeBron James. We're not saying that LeBron's not one of the greatest to ever play. We're not saying that he doesn't have certain things in his package. We're just trying to compare these teams. Now, if you did want to say Larry Bird might have been at the end of his run compared to Jason Tatum, okay, we'll take that. But a team with MJ, the way that he had, Robinson in his prime, Barkley in his prime, the players who are doing their things right now on this team are beyond their prime. The question will be not compare 92 versus 2024. It's the field in which they're playing against. The field in which
I was going to say is 24 the best? Is 24 the best Olympic team other than 92? What's the next best team?
What's so good about this team other than what the media is saying? They won against South Sudan by 1 point, a team that don't even have an arena. I mean, in the next 5 years, imagine how good South Sudan is going to be when Luau Deng, and shout out to Luau Deng, when he's able to get these tall, athletic, fast guys an actual facility. In 5 years, we're going to be in trouble. Let's be honest. You play basketball. These guys are skilled. For them to have this lack of equipment, they're so far behind the 8 ball, and they're taking the best of the best. Our starting team and our backup team should punish this team, no problem. Some of these guys are in the league, and they barely even play. But if they're playing the best of our best, and they're beaten by 1 point on a go-ahead layup with the King.
We discussed this earlier, man, and whether it's publicized or not, them boys was out in Tate. They was doing what they was partying in London, man. They shouldn't have had that game in London. They should have had it somewhere.
You think MJ wasn't partying in London? MJ don't sleep.
Hey, man. Hey,
I watched MJ stand up and gamble all night long and hit 48 points. Come on, dog. At 39.
MJ was playing against Goods and me with bad knees and hips, man. That's what he was playing against.
Man, he was playing against the Detroit Bad Boys. He was doing that his whole career. MJ would stay up all night. Dennis Rodman can stay out all night, and he gonna still give you a double-double, and he gonna guard everybody. So, I mean, those guys knew how to burn their candle on both ends, so it's no excuse. Charles Oakley went out. When guys go out, we call it, look, don't burn your candle on both ends if you can't handle it. That ain't no excuse. These are Olympians.
What do you think the reason is? What do you think the reason? You played in both generations, the old school generation, and even guys in our time that we're still playing, just finished playing. I mean, even this was out in the big three. What's the difference physically that guys were able to do so much to their bodies and have so much longevity? And nowadays, we're load managing kids. I mean, we're playing summer leagues, we're taking games off. Kids are playing AAU tournaments and they're having injuries. What's the people and what they can sustain?
They don't play basketball no more. Most of these guys are good at working out. They get the best trainers, they get the best medicine, and they just work out. We used to play basketball all day. We going up and down. You know, you be true to the game, it's true to you. These guys are like boxers that don't spar. You could look good hitting the bag, you could look good hitting the mitts, but you got to get in there. You got to rough it up. And so that's why a lot of these guys they're just workout players. Like these guys don't know how to play the game for the joy of the game. They just play for the numbers. They changed the game up for individuals. When I played, we went to the hot hand. That's why you would see a Corliss Williams come off the bench and they giving them the ball every play, and he punishing you. And they played like that every night, a consistency. This guy's gonna get a touch. This guy's gonna get a touch. But in this generation, the superstars can shoot the ball from anywhere. They can step back and fall out of bounds and kick a baby. And these are good shots because they're superstars.
Man, what do you think? Go ahead.
I had a question because we talked about this a little bit in previous shows, but you talked about that, right? You touched a little bit. The opportunities, people giving someone a chance. Jason Tatum not getting any playing time in the first game, but you come out in the first possession, you make sure you give him a touch. And at that ball feel like a brick. at the same time, us guys, we all know from our playing days, overseas guys, we always felt like if you had a little bit different opportunity, a lot of us could have been in the league. But as a guy like you with a long NBA career with a little bit different opportunity, as we watch the Olympic Games, what more do you think you could have done had you had, the opportunity being different? The narrative or situation being a little different, because we all know it's just one little change in the situation can change the whole trajectory of a man's career.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I would have loved a consistent 30 minutes or 28 minutes a game, because that's how you develop, and that's the thing with Bronny James. I know guys that were higher picks than him, and they didn't get the same opportunity. And so when you speak about it like that, from a purity standpoint, some of you guys would have loved to have been able to play 28 minutes a game for the Los Angeles Lakers just to showcase your talent, and it's guaranteed. And so that's, I've seen guys get cut that play well. On the flip side, it's a numbers crunch. It's about, okay, if a guard get hurt, then now we need a guard. So this 4-man that was playing great, he got to go now, because now we got to keep a guard. What the Lakers did was they locked in their whole roster already. So whoever came, they was just coming to just get beat up for other guys that's already on the roster. So the politics of the game is amazing. And the fact that at my time of coming out, it was frowned upon for high school players to even play. Jermaine O'Neal talked about his struggles of not being able to get on the court. He said 7 years he killing in practice, but because he was behind Rashid and guys like that, he never got an opportunity. He almost got into a breaking point to even get out of Portland to even get to Indiana. So if one situation would have happened, you would have never seen the Jermaine O'Neal in Indiana. So it's a lot of politics, and I think we doing ourselves a disservice with the AAU programs and the way they're teaching these kids to play like pros already, instead of teaching them the mic and drill and the things that you have to do consistently to be a pro, the discipline it takes. They're letting these kids play like professionals, and they're not professionals. And so I think it's watering down the game. And next couple of years, the game is going to be international, because everybody's playing that way, and they can get a whole country to back these guys instead of having a kid from the hood that nobody supports. There's going to be no more kids from the hood that get that opportunity. It's going to go to ex-NBA players, children.
Yeah. And inner city kids are getting phased out of basketball at the college level as well now with NIL. This is the Role Player Podcast, Watch Along, presented to you by Swiss Cultures. Kwame Brown is with us. I'm Jordan Taylor, Richard Hendrix, Anthony Goods. 26-14 at the end of the quarter. U.S. all over South Sudan. One thing you mentioned, I had two questions. I know Goods has some questions for you too, so I want to let him get it in. But one, you mentioned the AAU culture. How do you fix that? What's the solution to get one, not just inner city kids, but just the overall culture of basketball back to some of the things you talked about with the dream team, being able to play more, pick up, get more reps in, good reps.
Get rid of some of the NBA coach dads that don't have the time to actually teach the bases. Like I got a coach that really love the game, and he's there every day. I don't have the time to be there for those kids every single day to teach them the skill work, the mic and drills, and the things of that nature. So the PE coaches and the men of the community that actually do that every day, they need to be teaching grassroots. That's why I go back and get with guys like that. He's a legend in Savannah. You know what I mean? Guys that really do that every single day. I go meet up with them and put a light on them. So, help them do what they do better, because it's about the fundamentals. The foreign players are catching up because they don't get taught to go step back and be cute. They get taught fundamentals. That's why the Joker, it don't matter how tall they are, how small they are, they all have fundamentals. Tony Parker can do everything on the court. The floater, he was nasty. He was a little guy that could post up. All of these foreign players, if you can see the draft now, 2 players get drafted. Number 1 draft pick from France last year, number 1 draft pick from France this year. Number 2 or number 3 draft pick, France. So that's unheard of in America. It's those hood kids with that grind, they going to be street cats. Our culture is fucking everybody up. My bad if I'm precursor.
No, you're good. You're good. The second question I had too before is you mentioned politics and you talk about narrative. Those are 2 words that keep coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
You came in your career and everybody knows that right at the start of this take culture nonsense, right? And now being on the media side yourself, talk about how media and narratives do play a role, and now what do you think the evolution of media and I guess the next step of media will play in the game of basketball as well, if that makes sense.
Well, they don't want to teach us basketball. You could tell by the way they have football players and entertainers talking about basketball. Why is Shannon Sharp talking about basketball? Why is Keyshawn Johnson? These are football players. That's like me talking about boxing. I'm not a boxer. Doesn't make any sense. But the average American, they want to be entertained, and these guys are entertainers. So when you move out actual people who know basketball and you entertain the crowd and just have them say the narrative and let Clutch Sports hire almost half the media, and they give you this sweetheart deal of LeBron James, then you would actually believe this thing that they're telling you.
That makes sense. That's real. I mean, it's a lot going on behind the scenes that people don't see. I think one of the other things is, again, shout out to South Sudan and Luol Deng. Grant Hill's invested in NBA Africa. I think it's going to be interesting to see how that side of the politics plays out with the development of NBA Africa.
Grant Hill, a company man.
Right. There's several executives in the NBA personally invested in NBA Africa, which is a dope thing to see, but also it makes you wonder how some of these decisions get made. But I know, Good, you had a question. Go ahead if you get your question off, man. You over there quiet.
Oh nah, man. I'm over here trying to keep the wheels turning over here. But nah, I wanted to ask because the basketball culture has clearly changed from, let's just say, 20 years ago to now. And I feel like with the NBA being so young, it's almost like it's a lot easier for these young guys to transition into the league at 19. I wanted to see, what is your take on, the basketball culture today for the young guys coming in, and how do you think your career would have been different if you were coming in the culture, like it is today? It seems like there aren't as many bullies as back in the day.
Well, my career would have been different if I did what all them do. See, there's gatekeepers in the league, and one of them is a guy named WWW. I talked about it. Everybody know Worldwide West. He's in a song. So he approached me, and I said, "Well, what do you do?" He said, "You're gonna need me." And I said, "Well, I'm not gonna need you if you don't tell me what you do." And so all of these guys are up under somebody, and that's why Dr. Boyce Watkins said what he said when I first came out. You notice why we don't have a collective of black men that own or run no business and do nothing, but you see all these people are rich as hell. They $100 million, $50 million contracts, but none of them as a collective go out and do business and help the black community. They can't. They have to push narratives. They have to go vote for Kamala. Meg Thee Stallion needs to be twerking at the presidential race with Kamala. They have to push a narrative. These celebrities of today, they get trinkets to make everybody stupid. And I'm just not the guy that makes everybody stupid.
Well, how were you able to, sustain for so long in that? I mean, you sat around, you heard people say,
I stayed quiet.
Your job, huh? Just doing your job.
I know they didn't want to hear what I had to say, so I didn't get in trouble. Stayed quiet. They bring Jared Jeffries in. I just kick his ass on the court. They bring another guy in. I kick his ass. Stayed true to the game. I stayed in shape.
Man, Rich always, and myself as well. We as overseas guys, you always feel like you could have got more juice out of the tank, man. We always say, damn, man, we was overseas, but it's like we should have made, should have played in EuroLeague a couple more years, should have been in the NBA for a year. Like, do you still have any of those feelings? I think the idea is that, you was some like one that had a year in the NBA for some younger guys, and the narratives that people like Stephen A. Smith has created. But you played 10 years in the NBA, correct?
So some say 12, I say 13 because they still pay me after I left.
You see what I'm saying? So you see what I'm saying? So
which is not easy to do.
It's not easy to do. 12 years is crazy.
The problem. I'm sorry, Jay. The problem is everybody has a voice now. You can watch some things, and everybody. The crazy thing, you get behind a keyboard or a mic, is so much confidence that people have, and as we all know, man, it's thousands of guys out there that can hoop. It's thousands of guys that can hoop. You just need your opportunity. But the crazy thing is how people can bash a guy who's really better than everybody in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you really look at the whole grand scheme of things, I mean, we all feel it. But
the best basketball player in the world, Stephen A, came up with that. So Stephen A better than all of us. He had 17 threes in one game. I never did that. So
man, this dude.
But no, I never had those regrets, man. I got tired of the puppeteering and them trying to make me say things I don't got nothing to do with. I remember the last straw for me was I was in Philadelphia, and I think Jason Collins was coming back, and they was all excited that he was homosexual. And I was just like, okay, but the guy that he's about to take his job, this guy is averaging 1.1 points, 1.1 rebounds. The guy that has the job that he's about to take his job is averaging a little bit above him. So from the competition of that, what is the point of you bringing them back? But it was a narrative, and they asked me to say something about it, and I was like, well, I don't care. You don't want to hear what I got to say because you're not going to like it because I'm not a part of the narrative. So after that, I'm like, you know what? I can't wait to be a businessman because as a businessman, you can't tell me what to say and do as a private company because these guys are just puppets.
That's real. And real quick, man, we got a comment showing some love here. Matthew Wagering, I hope I didn't murder your name, man. He said, I used to be a highlight producer for NBA TV. Kwame had big game. He had a real bag. The narrative hampered his career.
Well, the narrative is so crazy. I've been looking for my full games at the Peach Jam, the Round Ball Classic, some of the tournaments that we all have gone throughout high school and things like that. I think Nike owned all of these videos, and you can't find one video of me playing in any of these tournaments. If somebody can find a full game at a Peach Jam, a full game at a Round Ball Classic where I won MVP, because I would like for people to see the build-up. How is it that I'm the only player that there's no build-up to the NBA? It's just, I don't even think I can find my full high school games. It's just, I came out of nowhere, got to the #1 draft pick, and everything has been deleted.
Well, we got to see if we can find that somewhere. I mean, it's got to be
out there. You ain't gonna find that shit nowhere.
The internet.
And we all stumped.
Yo, so what was your game like in high school?
I get it off the rim and go. I played every position. I guarded every position. There's a game I'm playing point guard.
So what you're saying is you would have thrived in today's game. That's what you're saying.
I would have thrived in my game. It's just when you have
thrived in that one.
Yeah,
I'm saying even more so. Like that, this game was made for you. Like I'm saying, it sounds like you was ahead of your time, even for real.
Not even that. Like I knew how to adjust. I was a guy that knew how to adjust just to stay out on the court. I was not only I was a good offensive player, but I was a great defender. I was getting 12 and 13 blocks in one game.
Do you feel like guys that adjust to stay on the court now get penalized? The guys that could do it all, because it's a lot of specialists, right? The guys that adjust to stay on the court, do they get penalized now?
No, that you only get penalized if you're not labeled as a scorer. If you're labeled as a defender, as soon as you get beat off the dribble, there's, oh shit, he ain't playing, he ain't worth it tonight. But if you're labeled as a scorer, you barely even got to play defense. All you got to do is jack up a bunch of shots. It's a numbers game. Any NBA player in the league that shoot 18 shots, if he's a big man, he's going to hit 50-something% of his shots. So you know what he's going to average. If he's a guard, most of them shoot 48 or 50%, depends on how they play. If they're shooting 20-something times a game, you know what they're going to average. So all these guys do is go out and just shoot the ball. They're not playing basketball no more. There's too much money involved. They're just hooping to get that money.
I noticed that even with and it's coming to Europe. That's the thing. It's coming all over the world with that. Like even the last time South Sudan played the U.S., Carlick Jones was the darling. He played a great game, but it was like he was 7 for 21. And he had 15, 11, and 11. It's like back, when we was coming up, it's like 7 for 21. You was
7 for 21. Like, somebody, one of your teammates. When I played, one of your teammates, you gonna be in a fight in the locker room. What the hell you doing shooting so much? You shot 21 times, only hit 7. But because they get numbers, that's all the media has been pushing upon everybody. Oh shit, he had 25 and 12, but he shot 9 for 28. Like who's not gonna? And then he shot all free throws after that. Like, come on now.
And the worst thing about that is having the conversation with the kid that didn't watch the game, and doesn't know what it feels like, and they look at the box score and they tell you, oh, he had 24 points. How are you going to tell me he didn't have a good game? Well, everybody who plays and knows what it feels like knows that you can steal 20. There's a way to do it. There's a way to do it.
Stay out there long enough, you can get 20. Easy.
Yeah, you can steal it. I did it at the end of my career. I can steal a double-double. I know what it's like. You got to figure out a way to do it. But it's the difference between a real 20 and a stolen 20.
Right.
That's a fact.
And a lot of the things that y'all didn't see is that a lot of the 20 of your guy that everybody Homelander. I like to call him Homelander and Homelander Jr. That's from that's from the boys.
Hey, I told him before I let you. I told her Rich don't know who that is because he don't watch them type of Marvel, man.
You got to watch the show, The Boys. It's perfectly
man.
for LeBron and his son. That's Homelander Jr.
Boy. I'm a Southern boy from Alabama. I don't have my time to be watching these movies, man. I'm
just
trying
go
to
get a
outside.
clip of it. Just get a clip of Homelander and the son, and you'll say, "Oh, I know what you talking about that."
I might. I need somebody to send it to me because I'm not gonna go out there searching for it. I got too much. I got to be spending my time doing something else. With this time, you look at what Team USA has been doing, up 46-31 according to my stream. Some players really been knocking it down. Kwame, you taking a peek at that game? I know you Goods. Jordan, I know y'all are taking a peek. What do y'all think about the first half so far?
Thank God Kevin Durant came back.
Yeah. Kevin Durant back rolling again. Him and Ant really doing their thing, man. Ant is well, excuse me, not Ant. Him and LeBron doing their thing. 10 points for LeBron, 9 for KD. Bam playing well is also. The defense, man, has really been impressive. This is for a bunch of old guys. If they guard like this, I don't see them having too many problems with any of these teams.
Let me ask y'all this. Everybody keeps saying how LeBron make everybody better, right? How is it that you get Tatum on the floor? These are the best of the best. You get Tatum, you get Embiid, a guy who can carry a whole franchise. You got Anthony Davis, another guy who is amazing, who can't be stopped almost anywhere on the floor. How is it that these guys seem to disappear and fade away at some points of the game?
Listen, I think LeBron stopped making guys better around 2020, 2022. If you want 2021, 2022, and I thought his nod, LeBron's own nod to his time is up was when he did that trade for Russell Westbrook because he knew good and damn well that was not finna work out. But I felt like he looked over at Brooklyn. He saw James Harden. He saw Kyrie, saw KD, and he's like, "Oh, we just need firepower. I need somebody who can run up and down with me." And it was like he was trying to put as many guns in his tool bag as he could. So throughout his career, though, I think if you look at who has LeBron not made better throughout the course of his career, I would ask that.
I think he made Chris Bosh worse.
Ooh,
I think he always needed specialty bigs around him in order to be able to be LeBron. I think he's played with some of the greatest
K-Love
players.
fell off too.
I think he made K-Love worse. I think Chris Bosh did a great job at adjusting, though. I don't think he made Chris Bosh
y'all
worse.
forget how many great players this guy played with. He played with Kevin Love, Carlos Boozer. He fell into a team where you had Ricky Davis. You had all these young guys. Ricky Davis, what's his name? Darius Miles. Darius Miles is there. You got all these guys. Just Jonas Elgauskas. Y'all, they're saying that he wasn't nothing. This guy was an all-star. Like most number one,
he was an all-star with Bron, right?
He was an all-star. Most number one draft picks go to the worst team in the league, and they got to build up from that. I went to a team that only won 19 games. With that squad they had some real good pieces. Mo Williams was a real good piece for him. Then he goes to Kyrie Irving. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Westbrook, like, come on, Anthony Davis. You give MJ these players, and I don't think he lose a game. He went 72-10 with Luke Longley.
See, we're not. That's not. See, we're
No,
not.
now you mad. He went 72-10 with Luke Longley. Come on.
It wasn't just
you see how he let off with Luke Longley. You see how they do? He talking about Kyrie, D Wade.
Jay, let the man talk. This is the role.
You like the way I said right there. I forgot to say Ray Allen.
You see how these MJ fans do, man. Look, I'm gonna keep it a beam with you, and Rich gonna get mad again because I don't give a damn. Like, it's a played out.
No, I'm not an MJ fan. Listen, I got no reason to be an MJ fan. That motherfucker slapped me in the back of my head one day. But I'm just telling you, I got no reason to be an MJ fan, dog. No reason at all. I just saw the work and the dedication. This old Negro was getting up at 39 years old. He never cheated the game. Whether he went out, whatever he did, the Breakfast Club was real. I'm like, I joined the Breakfast Club because I couldn't believe it. I'm like, ain't no way this old nigga, after being up, standing there all night gambling, no way this nigga gonna be here at 6 o'clock. That nigga was already in the weight room lifting at 5:45. I'm like, nigga, he's a machine. I couldn't believe it. Every morning he's like that. No matter what he does, he never cheated the game.
Respect to the GOATs, man. LeBron, MJ, but what we not gonna do on this show is talk about some Kyrie, some Kevin Love, and then Luke Longley. We ain't doing that.
Hey, listen, let me ask you this. You think MJ didn't have the power? He had part ownership of the Washington Wizards. You think MJ didn't have the power to bring both of his boys to the Washington Wizards? Come on now. He never would cheat the game like this. You got to earn this shit.
Nah, see, because I played against the old one, and that you couldn't even make a case for that. No disrespect to him, but you couldn't even make a case for that. He was at Illinois.
It don't matter about your case. He was the owner of the team.
Nah.
He was part owner of the Washington Wizards. He could have said, "You off, you on."
Bronny, you can make a legit, whether it be people disagree or not.
No way possible you can make a case. A guy have a heart condition like that and get a 4-year guarantee contract. No way possible.
See, and that's where he messed up. That's where he messed up optically. He shouldn't have publicized the He should have just said, "Hey, man, they should
2+
non-guarantee." Yeah, he should have gave
non-guarantee. That would have been okay. Listen, MJ was in a better position, bro. Not only LeBron don't own the Lakers, MJ had part ownership of the Washington Wizards. So if you believe in nepotism, he's not only a player, he was part owner at the time. So nobody could have told him no to his son. Nobody.
Why are y'all forgetting?
And his middle son had better numbers than Bronny with no heart condition. He had 8 points.
He was a good one.
I don't think he's better than Bronny, though.
He had 8 points
and took a spot from somebody more deserving on the Chicago White Sox and the Birmingham Barons. Why are y'all forgetting?
What? There's nobody more deserving than MJ to play baseball. Are you crazy? Do you see how many tickets he sold? Are you nuts?
What you mean? You see how many tickets Bronny sold?
That's a private company doing business.
Listen, I'm from Alabama. It was packed out at the Hoover Met.
Where you from, man?
And listen, they didn't let him go to the major leagues. They did a minor league team like that. Come on now, that's not the Lakers.
I was in Vegas from July 12th to July 14th. That joint was packed out this year. They was there to see Bronny.
I understand that, but what I'm saying this, that is true. That is true. The only thing I'm gonna argue is that the parallel don't work. MJ went to like a lower level minor league team. This is one of the most storied franchises in NBA history. Either Boston Celtics or the Lakers, and this kid got a guaranteed contract because of Homelander.
Bronny about to go. Homelander Jr. about to go play in the G League, man. He about to go play.
Boy, they better not do that. They better not do that. They better stick that boy up under his daddy arm. Them wolves down there he gonna get exposed. For one, he can't play point guard.
Nah,
he can't.
He looked all right the last couple games of summer league though.
He was playing like 2 guard.
He gonna play off the ball, but I think people forget he played all right in Hoop Summit. You know what I'm saying? Where you got the best players
Talk to him good.
State and internationally. Played all right in Hoop Summit.
Talk
Kid
to
went
him.
to SC. He had the heart problem. Came back in the middle of the year, which we all know is tough to do, especially as a freshman. You got some freshmen that start from day one and then they struggle. So, I'm shooting Bronny a little bail on that. Like, yeah, the 4-year deal. I'm not rolling with that. But a 55th pick, I mean, I think it's cool. Look at Peyton Watson. Peyton Watson, he was a 30th pick. He barely played at UCLA. Granted, and you had to go through his high school footage.
What were his measurables?
I get that.
They always go and they go. You see what they gonna do? They gonna keep asking something. They gonna find. Look. He pointing down to.
Hey, but look. Somebody go run the numbers. Somebody. Go
I didn't have to say it. I'll wait on you to answer his question.
Yes, dudes, man.
Just answer his question. I ain't gotta say nothing.
The measurements.
What were his measurables?
What, his wingspan
and his vert.
Height,
give me his measure.
Whatever. I mean, we all
give his wing.
You know how Hendrix say his wingspan longer than all day. I get that. But I'm saying this is what I'm saying. Though. This is what I'm saying. If you look at his numbers at a 30th pick and every other 30th pick, probably for the last 10 years, he probably at the bottom. Probably the last 20 years, he probably at the bottom. But what I'm saying is like sometimes these kids choose the wrong school. They go to the wrong situation, and then you got to do a little more homework and go a little further back. And I'm not saying Bronny first round pick. I think 55 to 60, he could fall anywhere in that range. You got cats, they drafting overseas kids at 55, 60, whatever it is, and they don't come over for about 8 years.
Anybody can
the
go
only
in
thing
that
I would say is this. The only thing I would say is this. I'm pulling for him. I think he's a tremendous kid by everything that I see. I think he does have potential to play in the NBA. But my short experience that I had in the NBA, there's thousands of guys that can play in the league if you give them the opportunity to fail and then figure it out. The question of it is as you're speaking about, he picked the wrong school. Well, when everyone else picks the wrong school, we pay the price for picking the wrong school. And if that's the case, it's nothing wrong with having to be an undrafted free agent. Come figure it out in the G League, and then after you get hot, they call you up. I don't think the pushback would be any different. But to say that the 55th pick is something that no one cares about, man, thousands of people would have loved to be picked 55th. I was a second round NBA draft pick.
Nobody said that they didn't care about the 55th pick. And I don't know why, Rich, why you in here lying, because if your son, you know, if he was up for the 55th pick and you could get him drafted for the 55th pick, you would have that boy right up in the NBA, right with you in Golden State, just like that.
We believe.
I promise. Jay, I put depending on the situation, the first thing you would have to think of is about my own credibility. You got to look at your own credibility. If he's close enough that he can be the 55th pick where it can be justified, you talk about they have the height, they have the measurables. But if you don't have the things that I can justify, then I have to take a different route. I'm not saying, I think it's a great thing. I'm going to watch the games. I love to see the father-son duo playing side by side. I think that's something that's going to be absolutely something to see. I hope they have some success. But I'm just saying from a standpoint, as a former draft pick and a guy who played professionally, everybody wants that slot. And the narrative is like, nobody.
No, it don't matter. That's crazy. I hate that they making that. It matters. You know why? Because listen, this is the travesty that people are not realizing. They acting like the 55th pick ain't nothing. But don't you think the kid from NC State that is a proven double monster, that he could have been a project to get there, lose a little weight? This kid is a monster. What is his name? The center for NC State. DJ Burrs. How can you make a case for Bronny James, a guy that had a heart issue, that hadn't proven anything, to a guy that went to a good school and put up numbers against everybody?
And again, if that you right. But Bronny James,
that's where the 55th pick go for me.
But Bronny James is not the only one. Then you got to examine all the 56th pick. You got to examine the 54th pick. Why didn't any of these other teams take
the only reason why I'm examining Bronny, because any other player that has heart failure like that, including Shaquille O'Neal's son, that is a detriment. That we were talking about millions of dollars. They're not going to risk you, an unproven guy. I can see if you was all world and you had some heart condition and you're proven to be good, like if God rest his soul, if Len Bias would have made it through and he came back because of the things he did prior to that, people would have spent that bread. Bronny didn't do nothing. So why would they spend that bread on him?
They gave Bronny James $1.9 million.
It doesn't matter. That's $1 million over a guy who had a heart condition that you don't know what he's getting from. Let's be honest. He got that because his daddy is LeBron James.
Oh, there's no question.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's no question.
That's not up for debate. He got that because his daddy is LeBron.
That's not a debate. We know why he got drafted.
Because check this out. Look up Shaquille O'Neal's son, Sharif O'Neal. He had the same heart condition. He was getting doubles in the Lakers preseason. They was calling him a bust. They were saying he's no good. This kid was getting doubles.
There's no question that he got drafted because it was LeBron James' son. However, at 55, you can make an argument. Now, you don't have to agree with it, but you can make an argument that it's worth the risk. And at 55, I don't think so. $1.9 million. Now, should you have given him the guarantee? Probably not. That probably shouldn't have happened. But you definitely can make an argument for it. And if that's the case, Every year they
But
take
that's why it's not worth the risk because it's guaranteed. Because just think about it. They could have got the guard they could have got the point guard that just got traded to what's his name? That just took a job with Dallas. The guard that took a job with Dallas. There was 2 or 3 guards they could have got. DeMar DeRozan they could have got. There's so many guards they could have got that's not going to LA because they know it's a circus. You don't give him a guaranteed pick. If they would have gave him, I have no problem with LeBron using his power, letting him go and fight for a spot undrafted. To give him a guaranteed spot and to get that is disrespectful to the game because there's so many proven college players that you cannot let this guy jump the line. He did nothing in college. On top of a heart condition, the only reason why they do that is for money.
You have
He
to
can
examine
be a
the whole
NBA player
NBA
too.
draft. You got to examine the whole NBA draft. There's a dude who got drafted 23rd overall who averaged 2 points a game. So you got to average. There's plenty of college.
Tall, though. He's a shot blocker.
He's 6'4". He averaged 2 points a game.
Who are you talking about?
AJ Johnson. So he's like he went to Milwaukee. AJ Johnson. So you got to examine. And this is a topic that we've talked about on our podcast. Is the NBA draft in general broken? But if you go down the entire NBA draft, there was another guy who averaged 6 points a game. The 6th overall pick average like
I don't go off averages though. It's not just about the average. I guarantee you that guy that you're talking
doesn't have anything.
What is his specialty? What is the guy's specialty? Is he a lockdown defender? What does he do? What does he do? So that team said this guy's big enough to come in and play defense because we need him for just this one thing. What is Bronny James' specialty if he's playing out of position at the 2 spot? I believe the worst mistake they're going to do is send him to the D-League and them Wolves that really going to think like me that's saying you shouldn't be here. And he's going to have to deal with a guy every night that thinks like me, like you shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's going to be a problem.
We're going to find out. He shouldn't have given him. I don't think there's anything wrong with drafting him. He shouldn't have given him a guaranteed contract because especially at 55. He shouldn't have done that. But drafting him, he should have gave him a non-guarantee. We knew it was going to become guaranteed anyway, but he didn't have to do all that. He wilded out with that. He definitely wilded out with that, man.
We can agree on that.
This is the Role Player Podcast Watch Along, man, presented by Swiss Cultures. Watching the South Sudan versus USA game, the conversation is broken out for those joining in now. Did Homelander let Homelander Jr. in the league, man? That's LeBron James. Let LeBron James. That's not my words. Our guest, our esteemed guest, first overall pick in the 2001 draft, Kwame Brown is with us, giving us great insight, man, and also giving us the real on the game. We're enjoying having you on, man. Second half about to start shortly, but to continue this conversation, man, let's just put a pin in it. What do y'all think LeBron? What do you think Bronny James is going to do? Does he end up as a serviceable NBA player?
I'll go first. I think he does. Okay. I think he does.
Hold on, Rich. Hold on.
Get out there?
No, you can. But remember, we said guest first, and you said, "Oh, let somebody else go." Now look at you. You comfortable? Let me. Right. We got. I
gotta take this one. Listen,
go ahead, big dog.
I think he does become a serviceable player in the NBA because, listen, when you're drafting young players, everyone nowadays crucifies these college juniors and seniors as if they're old and washed. They're a long way from their prime. And as Bronny James gets more reps around NBA quality players, his confidence grows. He gets in that situation. He becomes more comfortable. He will be able to contribute in the league. So I see no doubt about it. He does have some athleticism in his game. He can probably guard several positions, and he'll find his niche. So you give him time. I think no question about it. He will deserve to be on a roster in time. The only thing is, does he deserve it right now? But in the future, I think he most definitely is deserving.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Nah, he good. He just stepped out 1 second. But I think Bronny's gonna be. I think he's gonna be serviceable. I think he's still gonna be an end of the bench guy, though. I think he could shoot the ball. I think shooting the ball was what he did in high school coming in, and defending. I don't know if he's guarding multiple positions. I think he got about one in him, but I think he's gonna figure it out because he can shoot the ball on that alone. And I'm just talking about spacing the floor. I'm not saying creating and all that other stuff, though.
I didn't see him shoot the ball well. I saw him make a couple shots from the pinch post and layup, but maybe he'll develop that three. That'll be the last thing to come. But I see a guy who's athletic that needs to learn how to cut and slash more until he gets more comfortable with shooting. If he doesn't learn how to play the point guard, I don't think he's as strong as David Wesley. At his size, 6'1", 6'2", he's the only guy that I've seen to be able to play that spot at the two. If he doesn't learn how to bring the ball up, he's going to be a poor man Juan Dixon. I think he'll bounce around. His daddy has enough power with Clutch Sports to keep him in the league, but after that, if he doesn't learn how to play point, he's going to fizzle out.
Listen, man, he gonna have a 10-year career, be a 2-time All-Star. He gonna get traded to Las Vegas when Rich and Bron go buy the team. That's what's gonna happen, man. You heard it here. I like that Juan Dixon. I don't know about the 2-time All-Star. I'm low key, I'm capping, but I like the Juan Dixon.
Juan Dixon was a Maryland Terp, amazing scorer, but he could not bring the ball up the court. So he needed Steve Blake, but he was too small to play the two guard. So people say what I'm saying is hating. I went through this with guys. I've seen this. I see what happens in practice. We don't live in this, the league no more where they pick that scab, but there's no way a two guard that's going to be 6'1" in a league that I played in. You're going to have Tracy McGrady or Corey McGetty on you, backing you down up under the rim. You're going to have a Kobe Bryant. So they just pick the scab. You don't deserve to be out here. You're too little at two. So this league now is just more about screens and running around, but a true basketball game, he wouldn't be able to play.
How many years you giving him until we know who Bronny James is for real? How many years you giving him to develop?
Well, he already shouldn't be talked about. So you could extend that by 2 more years because LeBron and the media is going to make sure. The good thing that he has working in his favor is that he's going to get every opportunity to succeed. He's not going to have to deal with the Kuminga type of situation where a player is so already, in my opinion, good enough to play, but a coach and Steve Kerr is just locked into a rotation. And until somebody got hurt, Kuminga was able to play. And then you saw him have outbreak games and outbreak seasons. But Bronny James is being given some things that guys usually work their life to not even get.
That's very fair. That's very fair, man. That's very fair. Listen, man, third quarter is about to start. Kwame, man, we appreciate you joining us, man. Thanks for spending the time. Very honored to have you, man, and giving us the real on that, man. That's
man, I need to send you my link of what I said about the 15th man, because we live in a society now where they only pump the superstars. But the work and the grind that I saw, the guy that was on the end of the bench, the guy that's on the end of the bench, he got to be the first one there, the last one to leave. He's the most dedicated guy. He's usually cerebral. He's in the film room because he know his job is on the line. Somebody coming. He usually know how to get along with everybody on the team, know how to get along with the coach. 15 man don't cause no problems. So we got to get away from this whole thinking that the greatest player is always the greatest mind of the game. There's not a lot of examples of the greatest player who ever played to become a coach or to become good mentors. It's usually the guy that can connect with everybody. And so we got to start respecting the game in that aspect. The people who put the time in the most is the 15th man. Their job is on the line first. You know,
I think Royale Ivy was kind of like that at OKC. You know,
I love Royale Ivy. That's my guy.
Kind of held them guys down, and then we kind of were able to see his expertise and everything play out now. So that's a great point.
Yeah,
that's the ethos of this podcast too, as well. The Role Player Podcast is meant to highlight those guys, the guys that are just meant to fill a role. Sometimes it's mostly a lesser role than just a superstar. That's a very point, man. But anything you want to shout out, we should have asked. Anything you want to shout out before we let you go to our viewers?
Man, shout out my YouTube page, Kwame Brown Bus Life. Go to buslife.com. We got some new sweaters and merch and things like that we about to roll out. And yeah, man, that's it. I appreciate you guys having me on anytime, man. I had fun.
Man, definitely appreciate it, man. Love to you. Enjoy the rest of the game, and we'll definitely have you back on if you're willing to come, man.
Man, salute to y'all.
All right, brother. Appreciate you.
Bro.
Appreciate it.
Man, that is Kwame Brown, man. Very, very blessed to have him on the show. Our second live stream, South Sudan versus the USA, third quarter underway, 55-36. The U.S. rolling behind some intense defense. I'm Jordan Taylor, Richard Hendrix, Anthony Goods. Make sure you follow along on all social medias at Role Player Media or at Swish Cultures, and be sure to subscribe to the Swish Cultures YouTube page below. Fellas, man, that was dope. That was dope having Kwame on. Really, really good insight. I love how real he keeps it too. And I think the media world needs more of that. I don't know if it's going to be able to happen, but definitely need more of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he gives an insight that a lot of people are not privy to, and he breaks it down where everybody can relate to it. It's not just, he's not just talking, he's lived it. And it's not just talking about, the other people, the 15th man on the roster. He's serving his community too. He has a bigger belief with what he's doing, not just from basketball, but just what he's trying to do for young men and people in the community within his life. So, I mean, hats off to him and what he's doing. We appreciate him always coming and being on the show.
Definitely. Go ahead, Goods. You got something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, man, I just love how he's kind of taking back the narrative, kind of created his own narrative over the last couple years, as verbally violent as he's had to be, to do it. I think it was necessary. It was loud and people started to pay attention. And I know a lot of people walked away with a different respect for him and his career, man. So shout out to him.
I'm gonna tell you right now, though, when we post this Homeland Junior stuff and they start coming for us, I'm finna duck for cover behind Quad. Man, look, man. I ain't trying to get caught in that crossfire, but no, he definitely is. He's keeping it real, and Rich knows I'm a big LeBron fan. I'm a big MJ fan, both. But I do. Me and Rich talk a lot of times about nobody should really be above critique, and I can appreciate that. I think all of his critiques of LeBron and anybody, like a lot of critiques of LeBron, whether they're inflammatory or not, they're not necessarily off base. So I think I can appreciate that. And but we'll keep it rolling, man. We mentioned Royal Ivy. That's a topic we wanted to get to that we haven't yet. We got some more guests coming for y'all. Nick Fazikis is here. Keith Langford is supposed to be on the way. We got those guys, so we'll get them in here shortly. Before we do, man, let's touch on Royal Ivy and just the player movement in basketball. It's touched media. It's obviously touched the playing side of it. Is Royal Ivy kind of the next player to step up and be the it coach in the future?
I think Royale ready. I think he's proved it, with that roster, a team that nobody really had, much expectations for, and I felt like they did it the hard way. Going through the World Cup and all the FIBA windows and whatnot, and able to come out and get the first win of this Olympics. I think we all need to kind of give a hard look at Royale and give him his flowers, man, and give him a chance at a head coaching job, man. I think it's time to get some young blood, on the bench in the NBA.
Absolutely. And I love his demeanor too. It's the confidence that he has over there. And he understands they're coming into this tournament as an underdog, but I mean, he really has this mentality like they expect to win. He has high expectations for his South Sudan squad, doesn't have all the resources to do it, but he still expects them to go out there and execute and try to compete. So, I mean, the creativity, the motivation, he has all the tools it takes. He should definitely be up next for a head coaching job in the NBA.
Yeah, definitely. I think I don't know the politics behind it, but just, listening to Kwame and talking about how the 15th man or whatever, 12th man is the guy that, relates to people the best. Royal Ivy definitely fits that mold. I think, from an outside perspective, he might have been looked over for that Laker job. And I don't know if he got any shake for that. I know the media said Borrego and Hurley, but he seems like to be someone that would fit in well if he seems to have the experience. I don't know all the the specifics of it, but definitely someone that I thought probably should have got more attention for that, especially given what South Sudan is doing here in not just this tournament, but last year at Worlds as well.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, man, let's we got another guest coming in for y'all. Rich, you want to introduce Keith, man, when he pop in?
Oh, absolutely. Before we move on to that, this game that we got here with Team USA up 60-43 in the third quarter, under 7 minutes to go in the game. They've had some really good ball movement. Bron's doing a good job facilitating, knocking down shots. But we're going to bring in the next guest here, someone who is definitely known for knocking down shots. We talk about a member of the Campus Jayhawks from 2001 to 2005, went to 2 Final Fours at Kansas, played many years in the EuroLeague as well as in the NBA with the San Antonio Spurs, top-notch shooter, a multiple-time Alfonso Ford Award winner, which means the EuroLeague's top scorer. So we have to welcome Keith Langford to the show. Keith, appreciate you joining us. Thanks for coming. How's it been going?
Man, it's going good, Rich. Listen, I want to say, first of all, about that introduction. That's how you bring your guest in, man. Like, I've been in this game long enough, and I've done enough interviews to when you get that introduction, and even if there's one or two details that are off, it's like, no, I did it twice, or yes, it was 19, it wasn't 16. Like that detail, and that was textbook, man. That's a viral moment right there. That's textbook, brother. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Listen,
Thank you
I could have left off a little bit. I really was just going off the dome. I really sold you short because I'm talking about a guy who's a multi-year champion in Europe. Many teams played for Olympia Milan, Maccabi Tel Aviv, Panathinaikos, Athens, Greece, Khimki, Moscow, in Russia. I mean, this guy, for many guys who played almost 20 years professionally, this is the OG for many of the guards overseas. They've seen him score for many years and just hold it down. So we're just glad to have you here on the show here. This, once again, we're watching our live stream of the watch along with Team USA against South Sudan on the Switch Cultures Role Player Podcast presented by Switch Cultures. So thanks again for having you, Keith. I'm going to hand it to Jordan. Jordan probably going to open this thing up with a few things. What we got for Keith?
Hey, hold on, real quick, Jay. I don't think the people back home, when you first come overseas, you don't really know like who playing overseas and all that other stuff. But there's some mythical names that like there's mythical names that pop up. Like for me, it was Bo McKellop and it was Keith Langford. I knew who Keith was from back in the day, but like those were the boogeymen. Those were the boogeymen when you came across the waters, man. So
listen, I was just about to get to that, Keith, man. We like to give out flowers on this show, but I don't know if you even remember this. My rookie year was in Virtus Roma when you was in Milan, and we played y'all. And I'll never forget. We was in where's you at? Old Fashioned, and I seen you at the bar. I grew up watching, man. I watched you in the national championship game against Melo, and I remember going up to the bar and just asking you a question like, man, how do you get to this point? I remember you looked at me, and you said, man, you just got to work, man. It'll come to you. And you were so cordial with me. And that meant the world to me as a rookie coming out, because I didn't know Bo McKellop. So we played Bo McKellop in the preseason before I even knew what EuroLeague was. And I was low-key hating on him because they was talking about he was D Rose. I was like, man, this little dude, man. But when I saw Keith Langford, I was like, this is the one. So man, definitely one of them OGs. And you've done a lot for the game, for a lot of people, for the game itself, man. So flowers to you and appreciate you joining the show, man.
Man, thank you, gentlemen. And that's, somebody told me a long time ago, it's just, the accolades and the money and everything that's always a part of it. But there comes a point in time where you understand what the tip of the cap from your colleagues and your counterparts. You understand how important that is. And now at this point in my life, that's special, man. So I appreciate that. Thank you, man. That really means a lot to me.
No doubt, man. No doubt. I know you've been watching some of this international play. South Sudan into the lead, man. 11. I'll start with the questions. One of them for me is like, you played a lot of years in the game, even internationally, has changed a lot for those that don't know. Like it was group play. The money opportunities used to be even more in Euro Cup, and the teams in Euro Cup are really better than some of the teams in EuroLeague. So I guess how much does where you play affect the perception of you? Like you went to Khimki, I believe, to play Euro Cup where you could have been in the EuroLeague. How much does that making those decisions, how much did that affect the perception of your game and how people perceived you?
Well, that, honestly, I think at that point in time in Europe, I think it was more so how I played, right? And so it was how I played, and it, the appearance of it, it wasn't Anthony Parker, but it was Anthony Parker, like talent, ability with a little edge, right? And so I think the Black American that really scored at a high level and played very aggressively, probably had a little bit different demeanor and dynamic to his game. So I think part of it was how I played. I tell the story sometimes of how, like, during negotiations, kind of, everybody knows I wore a mohawk for like 8 or 9 years straight. Like, I was asked to cut my hair off. Like, I just think the perception of who I was, it was in the style of game, really did that more so than anything. So those teams you named, they were the ones that were willing to look outside of that and see, hey, no, this guy really can't play. And you say, oh man, that's a good pocket pass. He understands the game. He does screens. He actually is a little bit of defense. So, those guys just had somebody in that organization that saw past that. But I really had a lot of trouble with the perception of who I was based on how I played.
Man, that's dope. Who do you love watching now? In a lot of scores out on this NBA team or on this NBA game, and I think scores back in my day and in your day had to guard as well. Who do you really enjoy as a scorer in today's game?
Man, I'll be honest, man. I really don't like. There's really nobody that I enjoy watching like, and I mean, obviously, I can appreciate obviously knowing the game the way I know it. Like, the LeBrons, the KDs, and those guys. So I really do like. I'm more like, when I watch them, I'm thinking through the lens of, man, how would I need to prepare at this age and at this point, like, and looking at what they're doing. So I'm looking at the game for those types of things. Like, I think that's one of the things that tells me that the game isn't where it used to be, because now, like, there's no one I'm seeking out to play, or there's no one that I'm, you watch guys enough to where, like, man, I feel like in my era, when you watch certain guys, you were always watching something. Now, there's duds in between the good performances that, it makes it hard to consistently watch one person. So for me, I just, if I catch it, great, but there's nobody that I'm just like, man, I have to see this guy.
Damn, that's real. That's real.
Yeah, I mean,
tell me this. Go ahead, Goods. Oh, well, tell me this, Key. Like, you talk about that. What has changed so much in that mentality? I'm telling you, came overseas. Your first time after leaving Kansas was 2005. You come overseas in what year? 2006? Did you go over immediately, or did you have a little stint before going there?
Yes, I was actually
2006.
Ime Udoka's backup for the Fort Worth Flyers that was coached by
Okay.
Stan.
So you had a short stint, and then when you finally go overseas,
right?
But then you play for so long. What was the biggest difference in that mentality? I mean, you talk about some older players, but at the now, you're not so much impressed when it comes to the scoring. What about your mentality and how you saw the game and how you learned from previous really good scores made you respect that style, as opposed to seeing it now that you don't respect the scoring mentality that these top level guys have today?
Right. So it's interesting, man, because, like, you hit on a lot of things there. And for me, it was like, I told somebody the other day, they were saying, hey, Keith, there's this kid, and he transferred a few times, and he went undrafted. Now he's in the summer, whatever. And he was like, man, as a guy that played at a Power 5 school, man, and he was kind of disappointed and all this. And I was like, yeah, he should be, right? Like, I mean, he should. He was saying he's scoffing at the idea of going overseas. I was like, yeah, I was too, right? So my view of overseas and everything was no different than any of these guys coming out and going over now. The only difference is that there's a lot of good money and bad basketball, so there's more reward. But in 2006, if I wanted to get paid and pay off this loan from my agent, I had to stay over here and make sure that this 160-day contract went through. And so then at that point, now it's like, all right, and then now it comes into play where, like, my agent and the people around me, they say, hey, no, you're good enough to play in first division, but go to second division and learn how to be in Europe before you jump out there, right? So all of that is important. But I think now that these guys have some of that talent and ability, but we won't see them manifest into those types of players because they're in with all these options, right? So now Keith Langford has to stay in Europe for 10 months, play with game a week, practice all the time, really learn, and the people around him are accepting. You know, he may be late, he may be rough around the edges. And so I go 10 months into a bag, no internet, no, you know, I can't FaceTime, I can't do all of that. And so as a 22-year-old, what more do you need than to go somewhere for 10 months and really shave away the fat and hone your skills? But now at 22, man, I can get an exhibit this and a two-way and then I just have all of these options to sway my focus on being the best player that I can. So I think that these players are capable of that, Rich, but they're just, man, they're spread thin with so much going on.
Right. I can see that definitely. So they don't have to earn it as much. They don't have to work as hard for it. And you had to grind your way up to where I think a lot of people, you know, I was able to see a lot of it up close and personal. I think a lot of people see the finished product of Keith Langford. They see the guy that's playing for the top level teams, getting buckets, leading the EuroLeague in scoring, but they don't see the grind and the mentality behind that. And that's the thing. Also, as you transfer from that time when you come over, you don't have social media as prevalent. You don't have the access to everything. So you really had to get it. And that was the mentality, I think, that probably stuck with you your entire way through. I mean, it's something that you don't see too much from the younger kids. I think they want it all now. And I know that's probably got to play a little bit in a role in why you were what you were.
No, it does, Rich, but the thing is they want it all now because they're able to get it all now. Like, I mean, and so you see a lot of guys, but in my time, like, so I do like to think that I'm a good decision maker and that's played a part in it, but I'm just saying that, like, man, there was really no other option, right? So, but who knows if somebody would have been saying, hey, here's a two-way, and, you know, I never probably go, you know, so that is so it's tough to have that mentality. You have to really be extremely special now to say no two-way, no this, no exhibit, no that, no whatever, and then turn with social media the way it is, turn all that down and then go say, hey, I'm gonna build it up 90, 160, 220, and like you have to be extremely special to do that now. And it would be hard to be that thorough with as many outlets as there are. But
how do you combat that, man? Like how are you if like in terms of giving back to the game, like how do you combat that? Because now, like you said, there's a lot of good reward in bad basketball. You know what I mean? Exactly what you're saying. How do you tell a kid, you know, play a certain way when you know him doing the wrong thing is going to result in overseas potentially a couple $100,000 more, or in the NBA might result in millions of more dollars? Where it's like, go get in your bag, which I know Rich hate that saying, get in your bag, man, but go get, you know what I'm saying? Go get your 15 and 6 by any regard or by any means possible, rather than doing the, you know, the way we learn the right thing. And I think, like you said, that mentality gets stripped away where it's become just kind of like go out there and hoop. How do you combat that? Is it worth combating? Is it possible?
Yeah, I mean, so I really think a lot of that, and I got a lot of experience with that, especially this summer. After being gone from American basketball, I jumped right back into 17U Under Armour, coaching and coaching De'Aaron Fox's team. So man, and even before that, right? Like there were guys at Kansas that I used to always try to say, hey man, hey, maybe you should think about this, or hey, you should think about that, and then, man, so between that experience and then all the people I've kind of dealt with, like, and at this point, like, it's kind of like I tell people, like, man, I won't deal with you until you have to listen to me. So it's like if I come in to speak to you and we're talking and you don't see it, I can't really waste that energy and that time, because now you're going to come away from that conversation and you're not going to see it. And then now you might be even twisted up even more because we're in conflict. So, man, I'll help you where you're at. And then when you have to listen to me at that point, if you didn't take my advice first time, and I won't deal with you again until you have to listen to me. And so because when you get too, you know, you can just put too many fires everywhere, right? And now you're always putting out fires instead of being in a certain direction and then trying to make that thing work. So to be more specific, I won't even combat it, right? I'll try to help facilitate what this person sees while giving advice here and there. And then when that person didn't come through, or when that phone call didn't get returned or whatever, and then now you're down and I care about you that much, let's map this out. But now only way I'm going to deal with you, if you do pretty much what I'm saying, you have to listen.
No, that's real stuff. I wish Dr. Umar was here because we need somebody to repeat that twice. You know what I'm saying? That's it. You know what I'm saying? But
he has a little Umar in him. Y'all might not know him. He might not want to show you all. He got a little bit of that in him.
hey,
A little bit.
And the Black Jayhawks shirt strategic.
Dr. Papa, man. Dr. Papa. Salute Dr. Papa, man. Look, hey, I gotta point this out there. We just watched during the game. USA's up 73-57. This is the Role Player Podcast. Watch along, presented by Swiss Cultures. Jordan Taylor, Richard Hendrix, Anthony Goods, and we got the legend Keith Langford with us. We just watched Bam Adebayo. And I don't want to mess up Buddy's name, but Kwani Goods, help me out with that, man. Kwani on South Sudan.
Nah, you got
it. All right. Nope. See, nope. But I can't. Yeah. Anyway, we just watched 2 6'10" dudes bringing the ball up the court, and the other one was picking up full, getting into offense. Man, Keith, we'll let you go first because we always show the guests love and put them on the spot too. But like, what y'all think about that in terms of the evolution of basketball?
I really don't think it's. I mean, I think the evolution is just people accepting that Bam's bringing it up, but Bam's not like initiating offense or doing anything. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like I'm hating. Like, he's just kind of driven. Like, I think most big men, if you've been in practice with them and you see them in pre-practice, most big men can do that. It's just a matter of if the people around have accepted that. Okay, we'll let him go do that a little bit. Now, from the standpoint of
Facts. Listen. I mean, hey, I'm glad you said that because bigs can bring the ball up the court. The problem is the guards don't know how to run their lane. Run your lane.
Hey, we gonna start a role player drinking game.
Asking for the ball, just run wide.
We gotta start a drinking game every time a guest get Rich going, man, on his soapbox, man. We gonna look. that's the third time.
Great guess with that.
Rich, Rich. We all know for anybody, Goods. You just getting to know Rich, but he thinks he could play 1 through 5, So don't. You can't say no. You thought he should have been shooting threes, running offense, posting up, doing it all.
Not? What's the difference between me missing it and somebody else missing it? What's the difference?
Hey, that mentality is the reason we got this evolution. You know what I mean? It had to start somewhere.
You're right. Yes, there you go. Like, this is nobody's not willing to be as as humble as Rich and say, okay, coach, you don't want that. All right, fine. Like, I'll go find my own team. He's like, nah, coach, okay, I'll do what you want. But now, man, hey, if you don't let Bam bring it up, man, I'm gonna go over here to this other team, and so you better let him dribble a little bit. But I mean, and to your other part of your question, now what I do think is just being a guard, like the ability of the movement of guys and their ability to switch and stay in front of guys, like that's been extremely impressive. Like, I'm watching that. It's weird stuff. I look at it basketball now. I'm watching that sometimes because I played in the era. A lot of my career was in the era where, man, if you got that big guy, like, man, it was pretty much, it really was a wash, right? He's a plotter. He can't move. Like, they're really trying to protect him. So it was a task to get that big man out there, and nobody wanted to do that. And so seeing these guys that do that, man, that is what's crazy about the game to me.
That was actually going to be part of my next question is, Mariel Shia, he's 3 for 10, 9 points, coming off 25 in the last game against the U.S. They're switching a lot. Bam's out there guarding them. As a scoring guard, what was one of the worst defenses, or what was the defense you hated seeing the most? And then what did you do against a switch? I know, like you said, they probably wasn't switching as much till later in your career, but what was the defense you hated seeing the most?
I'll tell you what, man, and this is really not like, once I understood, like, watching film and I knew every defense, like, based on that first pick and roll, I knew if they were switching, I knew if it was a short drop, a long drop, I knew if it was when I knew all of those things, like, there really was nothing that bothered me. But the coaches, the games where I had the most trouble offensively was where, Obradovich started this in Panathinaikos. I was playing in Kimki at the time. And he made it to where every time I was on, their offensive action came through whoever I was guarding. And so that, it tired me out And then so now by the end of the game, whatever you were doing, it was working, right? So now and rest, and it's crazy what watching film would do. Like he became more aggressive, right? So like now by the fourth quarter, they're hard hedging me, but because I'm a high minutes guy, the first 3.5 quarters, like I've been just chasing this guy through staggers and elevators and all this. And so now when he's trapping me in the fourth, I'm like, why am I so tired? Why am I so? And once I noticed that pattern, then as my career went on, I started to notice maybe a couple of people picked up on that. And so that was the times I had. But really, if I had to choose, it was always linked. It was always linked. And that's just anybody knows. Like, man, if you're a half inch shorter than me, if I can feel that you're 2 or 3 pounds lighter, like that already psychologically, I have an advantage. I'm gaining confidence just physically through those senses, right? But if I go out there and now this dude switching, like I can feel his gravity, I can understand, what he has, or the move that I want to go to is not going to work. Like that is just, you just have to be so much more aware of it.
That's interesting. That's like it's really a strategy too. Like as old as time, the way you combat a scorer is to attack him on the offensive side, right? But at the same time, we saw it with Luka a little bit, but it was still like, I felt like Luka kind of died. Like guarding 1-on-1 as a scorer seems to me easier than trying to run through staggers, run through elevators. Like 1-on-1, like, all right, you get a stop once or twice, and then it's like, all right, we can't do that no more. You know what I mean? No. Yeah.
So my only thing I would say to that is that and this I like to say all the time is like, it's right. You're right. You can always guard. Y'all can always get a couple stops and but the problem, like the thing you can't guard is a green light, right? And especially if that dude's not afraid to come down and miss a fourth time, he's not afraid to go 1 for 8. Like, and now psychologically, like, I don't know, depending on what kind of defender you are, now you're like, all right, man, do I get more aggressive? Do I, man, he's still coming again and again. Are you willing to sit down that many times? And so I realize not everybody gets that type of freedom, but I think that's the only time when like truly just, all right, let's play it 1-on-1 that you have trouble.
Listen, man, 75-58 US still on top, running away with this thing. Keith, we got one last question for you before we let you get up out of here, man. There was a big debate. We started the debate, but I asked the question, could an all-international U.S. team, meaning players not in the NBA, so you can draw from the G League as well, win the gold in this year's Olympics? So being one of those players in your day, you definitely would have been on that team. What you think?
I think if the I think they could medal, but I don't think, like, I think that would be like them playing the best that they could like possibly play, and they had this unbelievable chemistry. But I think that it's too difficult. It would be too difficult because once you get to Serbia and once you get to Lithuania and once you get to some of those countries, like it would be pretty difficult to beat them. And I say that because my philosophy is that when a talented European has NBA dimensions, that makes it hard for anybody to play against in the world, right? And so now when you talk about, and a little self-reveal, me and Rich are teammates at Maccabi, and Rich, man, great defender, great. Like,
don't do that. No, we're not doing that. Don't do that. Don't do
that.
We show love to everybody but Rich.
Listen, listen. And so, man, Rich, and Rich is always, David Black's like, Rich, always 1-on-1 on the post. Don't help Rich. All right, cool. But Barcelona has a guy named Ezram Lorbeck, who's like who, if you look him up, this guy, state NBA player. He's a legitimate 6'10", 260, 70 or something. That's legit size, like legit NBA dimensions. It's not I'm 6'9", but when I get out there, like, I'm only an inch taller than you, right? Like it's not those inflated numbers. Like he's really that size. And man, they start going to Ezram, and by that third possession, it was like, yo, we got to help Rich.
Hey, that was late in the game.
My bad.
That was in the fourth quarter. That was in the fourth quarter. I was worn out.
I remember like, damn, that was the first time that I was like, man, we got to help Rich. Like, but like, Rich helped everybody else, right? But so I'm saying that Europe has several guys, whether it be Giannis,
right,
a couple of Serbian dudes. I mean, you even go Luka, his size at the guard. Like there are several guys out there that like, you know, we just have trouble with, and like his talent and his size would just absorb the game, and it had to be a Herculean effort, right? Like, these guys. That's kind of where I am with it.
And Jordan, you touched on that last time we talked about that topic. Is that the reality of when people talk about the international players catching up to the Americans? Is that the stars have the size and the athleticism that is just up to par, or even more than anybody? They're still getting it done physically. It's not like just a total skill situation. Jokic is bigger than everybody. Giannis is bigger than everybody. Luka's bigger than everybody at his position. So the physical aspect of it is something that people don't acknowledge when everybody talks about the skill. I got one I ask Keith, though, real quick, Jay. This is for Keith. We know you were a scorer, and we know you are a competitor. And we see now Mike James. We see other people who are now the leading scorers all time in EuroLeague and whatnot. If you had played in the format that they play in now, the round robin, everybody's playing, all these teams playing 32 games a season, not with the group phases and only playing 10 games, 14 games, depend on how it is in the EuroLeague, how do you think you would stack up all time against these scorers now who are breaking all the records?
Listen, I'm going to sum it up real, like, it won't even be a philosophical answer. Listen, if I had the exact same amount of games in the exact same amount of time. Listen, I love Mike James. Like, literally, like, man, I've watched this dude for a long time. I respect his career and everything to it. But I'm saying this respectfully. Mike would need all the years left on that Monaco contract to catch me in that, you know, statistically scoring wise. Because there are years early on that, I mean, you know, like you said, before, you know, you can get knocked out. You might only have 10 EuroLeague games that year. I think I'm 4 or 5 of my years in the EuroLeague, so maybe 6, where like you have to get out of the first 10 games. So some years I only had 10 EuroLeague games. I only had 15, 16. So I'm just saying that. And Mike is, listen, Mike's the guy. He's number one. But I'm saying, had it been that, he would just need, I'm not saying he wouldn't be able to do it, but he wouldn't have done it already. That's pretty much what I'm saying.
Print that. No, I mean, I ain't gonna lie. Like I've had a chance, I know, to guard, you know, a few times, you at a young age, and Mike as well a couple times and I think you in Europe, to me, the one thing that always stands is you kind of had that Luka effect in Europe, like you mentioned. Like if it was a small guard,
right,
man, it was heavy. It's like, damn, this nigga's heavy. Like this dude is heavy. And if it was a big guard, it's like you just go by him and you gonna get to your spot and get your shots off regardless. So listen, we might post that and start a little debate, start a little war. You know what I'm saying? But
I'm not saying he wouldn't do it, but he wouldn't have done it yet. That's all I'm saying.
That's a very, very, very fair, man. Very fair. Listen, Keith, we gonna let you go, man. I know you got things to do. You're a busy man. We definitely got to have you back on the show. We appreciate you pulling up, because especially if you're gonna share more stories about Rich not being able to guard nobody, because that's, you know, I like them stories, man. But listen, you want anything you want to shout out? 17U coach down with De'Aaron Fox. See it below at Keith Langford _ on Instagram. Anything that you want to shout out before you head up out of here?
Young fellas, keep fighting that good fight, man. Keep going, keep climbing the ladder. Keep going, man. Just keep pushing.
Definitely, man. We appreciate you joining us. Definitely, please come back on the show. Love to you, legend. Honor to have you here, man. We'll talk to you in a minute.
Y'all young boys, keep doing y'all thing, man. Y'all doing a beautiful thing out here, man. Love you guys, man. That's great.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you, man. That's Keith Langford, man, for the folks, for the young bucks that don't know, man. National championship runner-up in 2003, lost to that legendary Melo team, but he was a problem. You know what? And I didn't want to say this, Goods, the one thing about that, I'll never forget that. I went up to him in old fashioned, and I was nervous. Like I didn't want to, because I didn't want to say, I was nervous, bro. You don't understand. Like I was
He was the boogeyman. He was the boogeyman.
Like I was a fan, bro. That was 2000. I was 14 years old watching that national championship with Hakeem Warwick, Jerry McNamara, Mello, Kirk Heinrich, Nick Collison, Heath Langford.
Go back and watch the semifinal. He gave Dwayne Wade some numbers too.
Gave Dwayne problems. They beat the dog piss out of Dwayne Wade. They bullied Marquette, man. So yeah, I was nervous when I didn't want to. I was on some Riley Freeman. Like, should I go over there? Is it pole jocking if I go over there? I don't want to be no. You know what I'm saying? That's how I felt, man. But listen, man. USA up 82-68. 7 minutes left in this one. Devin Booker goes to the rack. Finishes 84-68. This is the Role Player Podcast. Watch along, presented to you by Swish Cultures. I'm here with Richard Hendrix and Anthony Goods. I am Jordan Taylor, man. We've had Kwame Brown on the show. We've had Keith Langford on the show. A couple of old school legends for you young cats out there watching. If you don't know, go to YouTube. Look up those boys' highlights, man, because they was real problems. We got one more guest for y'all. Another old head legend, man. This dude, and we'll get him in here in a second. This dude was doing it like Bron. Here he comes right now. He was doing, he just retired, man. Just retired. Probably coming off the golf course right now. 17-year pro career. So stick with me real quick, man, because it's going to be a long one. Spent a lot of time in Japan. I know it might not look like it, but he is the godfather of Japan. You know what I'm saying? The godfather of Japan basketball. 2-time B-League champion, 3-time B-League player of the year. 2-time B-League Finals MVP, 5-time All B-League first team, 4-time B-League scoring leader, 2-time B-League rebounding leader, 3-time B-League import of the year, 2-time B-League All-Star, a champion in France in 2009, a consensus second-team All-American in 2007 at the University of Nevada, 3-time WAC Player of the Year, and his number was retired by the Nevada Wolfpack and Mr. Colorado basketball in 2003, and he was drafted by the Dallas Mavericks in 2007, 34th pick overall, man. The one and only Mr. Nick Fazekas. Nick, we appreciate you pulling up and joining the show, man.
Yo, man, I'm telling you, a lot of those things I even forgot. I guess I did, man. You got the whole list. Obviously, a lot of special accomplishments. Yeah, fresh off the golf course, 17 years, the body has kind of said, look, we're done. But I don't know, if we start running out of money in 6 months, maybe we'll pull a Tom Brady and go back over to Japan.
Big three. I didn't got 3-on-3 basketball, Nick. You ain't got to cross half. You ain't got to cross half.
Sometimes I sit and watch the Big Three, and there's some guys that actually play in Japan now that are currently playing in that, and I'm like, man, maybe I should try it. But, honestly, man, I mean, you guys are, I know Jay's still playing and everything like that. And Rich, Rich had a hell of a career, and you two Goods. But it's like, what really sucks when you retire is like, you're the worst basketball player of your whole life at that time, right?
Oh, man.
And
you feel the best.
Like, I had to retire. I did retire. I obviously went out on my own terms. Had the jersey in the rafters again. Like, it was about as special as it could get. But, man, you just, like, have your worst season, and you're like, man, I just want to go back home. I want to work out. I'm going to lose some weight. I'm going to get in better shape. And I already know the day that I was to walk into that gym, I would look at myself and be like, nah, man, we're not doing this again. Like, we can't do this again. So, as much as the Big Three sounds exciting, but, man, you guys already know. Fredette talked about it. A lot of guys that have played 3-on-3 understand that is a different animal, and I think you've probably got to be even better shape than what the four of us did as far as 5-on-5. So it's like, good God, I don't want to go out there and make a fool of myself.
Man, I've done some of those 3-on-3 qualify. I've done 1 or 2, and that stuff is physical. It's exhausting. They foul you. It's really like it's some jail ball for real. I ain't gonna lie.
Sure.
Like, they really just be out there grabbing you, pushing you, doing all that, man. But look, man, we got 6 minutes left in the game. We're going to get right into it with you. Japan, tough loss yesterday. For those that don't know, Nick is truly the godfather. What you see, Japan is in the Olympics because of this man right here, all the work that he put in over there in his time, building up the Japanese Basketball Association and everything that has to do with the country. Talk about how that feels, man, to truly build up a program. And I can't overstate it enough. You built up that program, world championships with them in 2019, I believe.
Right.
And now seeing them in the Olympics for the last two go-arounds. What kind of pride do you have? They almost knocked off France. They should have. Probably a bad call, a little home cooking. But
Man,
what kind of pride do you have? What kind of pride do you have in seeing that and probably not getting the credit that you deserve for it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just awesome, right? I mean, you know, some of you guys, obviously Rich and you played over there, and you guys probably don't understand, but it was a glorified men's league when I got there. You know, we didn't have any media. We didn't have anything going on. I tell the story all the time. Like, when I used to, like, ask some of the Japanese guys, you know, hey, they're going to play Taiwan tonight, or they're going to play whoever tonight. And those guys would be like, oh, man, we about to lose by, like, 30 tonight. Like, it was a foregone conclusion that they were going to get spanked, like, every single night that they played. And I just, like, you know, at the time I was still like a little bit young and everything like that. And I just was kind of like, man, aren't you guys kind of get tired of like being kind of the doormat of like Asia? And just none of those Japanese guys really cared. And so, you know, obviously having pride now, but like had pride when I obviously naturalized and got to play for the national team. And, you know, I didn't lose a game until we got to the World Cup. And then, of course, we didn't win a game in the World Cup. But, you know, we were able to knock off, I think they were eighth in the world at the time. We beat Australia. And that was still, I think, the biggest win in Japanese basketball history. Now, obviously, we can sit here and talk about what happened yesterday. And that would have arguably been the biggest win, to get a win in the Olympics and to beat France. So I feel bad for those guys because, like, you know, they won some games in the World Cup last year, and now just, you know, understanding playing at that level and knowing that, like, it's really David versus Goliath. Like, it's not a 15 seed versus a 2 seed. It's just not the same. It's literally David versus Goliath. So it's like, at this point, countries that can get wins or just one win in an Olympics, like, that just goes so long and goes so far for a country. So it's a bummer, obviously, that that image has gone through the internet. And talking to some Japanese people yesterday, they were just like, man, we're sick to our stomachs, because it's like we had the game wrapped up. I mean, how many games have we played? You're up 4 with 10 seconds to go. Like, that's a foregone conclusion. The game's over.
Yeah, that was a heartbreak. Rich, go ahead. My bad.
Oh, it definitely. I mean, you watch that and they're about 4 points. I don't know how the Phantom contest that they call on that. I mean, it's ridiculous. I think that's a game where clearly, you know, Japan has that one in control. We get the free throws at the end, and then they get a 3-pointer, call a 4-point play, and go into overtime. That was a tough break for them. But talk a little bit about, you know, I played in that Japanese league against you, and Jordan has as well. And for so many years, you were able to dominate. And even in the last couple of years, you know, I watch you so many times. I try to figure out, how do you do it? That's just the question that I want to know. I mean, somebody look at you watch you say, man, okay, he's not the fastest. He can't jump that high. Yes, he can shoot. Intelligent. But how do you see the game, and how are you so effective, you know, with the way that you play?
I mean, I just think a lot of it just comes out of hard work. I think a lot of it obviously is film. I used to watch a ton of film when I was younger, and I really used to try to like figure out how people wanted to guard me, and like, you know, they wanted to push me into places that maybe they didn't think I was comfortable in. And, you know, I used to spend a lot of summers, you know, okay, look, a lot of people don't want me to go to my left shoulder because they didn't want me to shoot my hook. Okay, well, let's try to work on this, you know, one-legged fadeaway, and let's try to find counters, you know. And that was one big thing that I really tried to pride myself on, was like getting into positions on the court that I felt comfortable in every single last position, whether I had to spin this way or spin that way. And just something I took pride in the summertime. So that when the games came around, it felt like it was easy to go against different reads, different defenders, different, you know, whatever the team was going to throw at me. It was like, oh, I've already done this, you know, in the summertime. So shooting this shot shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's just, a culmination of just trying to do it every single summer. And, I tell people all the time, for obviously all the young guys and that are playing, it's like, for me in the summertime, it was like you either get better or you get worse. Like, you're not going to come back. You're not going to be the same. And so for as long as I possibly could, I tried to get better every single summer so that I would show up every single year and be a little bit better or have a little bit more and, that I could throw out there and stuff like that. But, last couple of years, I hate to say it, I probably got a little bit worse every summer.
Well, when you say this I didn't see any rust. I mean, the way to look, but do you say this? You speak to the young guys and you talk so much about how you were able to use film study and how you were able to get better and better. But do you see the young players having that style of game that you have? And what do you think about the future of the game? The game where you can read the situations, you can play with finesse, you can use your size, you can understand the matchup. What direction is the game going, and how can it improve with some of the things that you were able to implement?
I mean, of course, the game has changed from when I got drafted, right? It's a lot more scoring. It's a lot more shooting. And, do I ever sometimes feel like I missed the boat? It's like, of course, maybe if I was 10 years younger or maybe even 10 years older, I would have been even a little bit further ahead of my time. But, yeah, the game is predicated a lot off scoring and shooting and even talking to some college coaches nowadays, whereas like I feel like maybe 10 years ago it wasn't as important, but it's like I've been told now if you can shoot, you can play. But it kind of used to be maybe 10, 15 years ago, back when, we were all a little bit younger and got drafted. It wasn't so much predicated off of shooting, but to me now the game, of course, I've been watching you guys this whole time, and you guys talk about sometimes it is bad basketball, and I do agree with you there. But at the same time, in this day and age, if you can shoot the ball, you can probably go out there and have a lot of fun.
That's a fact. That is definite fact, man. USA up 94-76, 2:15 and counting remaining. Drew Holiday misses a three right there. USA all over South Sudan. Role Player Podcast, watch along. Jordan Taylor, Anthony Goods, Rich Hendrix, and Nick Fazekas. The legend is with us. Japanese legend, American legend, any way you want it. He was giving it to you, man. Hey, Nick, we talked about for those that just maybe tuning in or wherever you are in the broadcast, Nick really built up the Japanese program, helped them get to where they are, which is back-to-back Olympics. Let's talk about, tell me about this South Sudan. A lot was made about Luol Deng and covering 4 years of the past 4 years of expenses, for the team. Talk about kind of what that journey would look like from your perspective, how important that is to building up a program as someone who kind of built it up. I don't know if it was similar, but just kind of talk about how impressive that is by Luol Deng and Royal Ivy and just what South Sudan is doing.
I mean, yeah, it's cool. I was going to sit here and ask you guys, if South Sudan sits in a different group without Serbia and USA, do they have a chance? I think it's a no-brainer that they have a chance to get to the knockout. And, I mean, they still do, obviously. But you just wondered, do they have a chance to even get a medal if they somehow get to that knockout stage with what they're doing? Because, I mean, just watching this game, it's a 20-point game, but, all of us have been watching it this whole time, and it's pretty much been a 10-point game. And, I mean, these guys are special, and it's like obviously they beat Puerto Rico, and yeah, it's just for what Luol and Royale are doing, it's really special. It's really fun to watch. Really happy for those guys because I'm sure that they have more pride in this whole thing than obviously anyone. And I mean, yeah, they're just kind of feels like they're just probably scratching the surface. And like you guys talked about earlier, NBA Africa just keeps on growing, and there keeps becoming more and more money over there to probably just developing more and more talent. So it's who knows what South Sudan or some of these African countries look like in 10 years as far as being able to compete for actual medals. But South Sudan's doing it for South Sudan, but I think they're doing it for Africa in this sense. And I do think that, kind of the same way I saw Japan sort of develop. I mean, I think South Sudan probably helps develop and creates dreams for so many kids in Africa that they probably want to do something more special than what these South Sudan guys are doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What's kind of the most? You got one, Goods? You look like you leaning up. You leaning up.
No, I was just getting situated. But I think I think that it's not talked about, but the importance of Luau putting that money behind, I think you can kind of turn to Nigeria's team and the way that team is kind of, just falling apart. And, they've had issues from the senior level on down from what I've been told. And a lot of it does come down to finances. I've heard whispers about corruption. I don't want to get into that, but, I think it's huge that, Luau will step up to the plate and, and make sure that at least the finances and everything was covered so these guys can get out there and compete. Because, I mean, if we're looking around the NBA, I mean, it's not a question. Like the majority of the African players in the NBA, come from Nigeria or have a Nigerian background. But, just in that example alone, I think we could see the importance of having the right support and how it can lead to success.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I totally agree. I mean, we all know that there's a business behind this whole thing, and these guys can't fly themselves over there. They can't, stuff like that. So it's like the fact that Luau's ponying up the money, and he made good money, but he's kind of like investing back into his sort of culture, back into probably where he grew up, and everything like that is like just really special. And I think it's really cool that he's doing this. And then, the stars are kind of aligning with South Sudan as far as having young guys that are obviously coming into the NBA. Obviously, some of these guys are playing Division I basketball. I mean, it just kind of feels like you have the sort of same star alignment that sort of Argentina had when they had Ginobili and Alberto and Luis Scola. And it was like that was the perfect squad to be able to compete for so many years. And now no one really talks about Argentina, but it's like South Sudan is young and they're just scratching the surface. Like, what is this going to look like when LA happens in 28?
No, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. 96-83, 30 seconds winding down, last seconds of the game. Nick Fizikis is here with us, Role Player Podcast, Watch Along, presented by Swiss Cultures. One more question for you, Nick, man, before we let you go, before we get ready to sign off. Well, Rich, you got Rich, you got one more question, Rich?
No,
you want me to
ahead,
take
Jay.
it? Okay, all right. What is the most important thing? Goods mentioned the corruption. He mentioned some of the finances and things like that, and being it. What is the most important thing, if you had to pick one, about building a program kind of from scratch internationally and then sustaining it?
I mean, I think number one, just the difference that I saw is just, I mean, it's belief. As cliche as it sounds and as silly as it sounds, it's like when I showed up, none of those guys believed, and they all just thought they were going to get beat by 30 again, and I walked into that locker room, and I walked in there, and, I had my underdog, cape on, and I'm sitting there thinking, no, man, we're going to beat everyone. Like, we can beat Spain. We can, you know what I mean? That's just kind of how I thought of it, because I just didn't understand. But all those guys bought in as well and kind of saw me as the alpha and said, hey, we can get behind this dude and we can win games with this dude. So it's like when you get 5 or 6 of those dudes that can legitimately play at this level as well, and they all believe, then that's just where it all starts. We can talk about hard work and this and that, but like if you show up and, we watched the 92 Olympics and how those guys were taking pictures of those guys, like those guys never believed they could beat anyone. They just wanted to sit there and shake hands with Michael Jordan. But now South Sudan goes out and plays that, the early game against USA and only loses by 1. The belief is there at this point. I'm sure, of course, losing today by 17 now, but I'm imagining those guys believe they can beat Serbia, and it's like they only have to win 1 game, they get to the knockout stage. So as cliche and crazy as it sounds, I think it's just belief that you can do it and you're going to be able to beat anyone.
That's a great point. That game between Serbia is going to be very, very fun to watch, man. Going to be very, very interesting to watch. The game coming to an end, man. Jordan Taylor, Anthony Goods, Richard Hendrix, Nick Fizikis. Nick, we appreciate you joining us, man. Please come back and visit the show anytime. We're honored to have esteemed guests. Kwame Brown was with us today, Keith Langford, and the legend Nick Fizikis with the nightcap, so to speak. So anytime you want to pull back up, man, shout us. Pull up on the show. Anything you want to shout out before we get up out of here?
Nothing much, man. Obviously, it's been fun. We did that podcast about halfway through the year. That was a lot of fun to kind of get some of those clips and obviously chop it up with you and A Goods. And it's fun to do this stuff. Obviously, I want to work my way out there and kind of do some things like you guys are doing, because it's kind of fun to watch. It's fun to follow you guys. So more so, shout out to Swish Cultures and what you guys are doing. And I just think it's a lot of fun, and it's really cool to follow what you guys are doing.
Beautiful.
Appreciate
Nick
it.
Physique is going to come to a TV near you soon on Big 10 Network or Big 12 Network soon, man. Y'all keep an eye out for him. Again, man, we appreciate you showing up, and we'll holler at you. We'll have you back on for sure. That's love.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right,
Appreciate
brother.
it.
Hey, man, that's what it is, man. Game finish out. I saw mine went to 106 to 86, correct, Rich?
It was. And, see, that's one of those things, too, that South Sudan made a little bit of a surge there. They actually won the third quarter and had a chance to win the fourth quarter. See, you talk about morale, that's a situation when you got that game, it's a 13-point game, and you got it looking better on the scoreboard. If I'm South Sudan, I pull that ball out and hold it for the last couple possessions. I don't let those last few breakaway dunks. Listen, seriously, now real talk. It's like Nick just talked about morale and confidence. It's a big difference when the final score is 103 to 86, and people see that on there and they think you got dubbed out there, as opposed it was just 86 to 90. In the 90s, you think that's a 10-point game or maybe an under, just when people take a glance at the box score. I mean, that kind of stuff matters, man. You don't want to sit there after you give everything you have and then you out there, you get beat in that fashion, but you really played them a little bit closer. I mean, you got to make the scoreboard look good.
What about the U.S. side, man? That's just kind of to reference the Dream Team and the Dream Team and this team. I do it. One thing I will agree with is that it seems the Dream Team had the mentality where they wouldn't have been a 17-point game. They would have been down 20 at half and they would have lost by 35.
Yeah.
And I think that might be, I don't know if that's the U.S. taking the foot off the gas and just coasting, or if it's the level of talent that they're facing. That's just my thought. I'll let y'all chime in on that. Goods, what you think?
No, I mean, I think the mentalities were definitely different back in the day. I don't think they would have let their foot off the gas. But I mean, in the same breath, man, they wasn't playing against that type of length. You know what I mean? So it's tough to say. I personally, I hate comparing errors and things like that. The pace of the game was different. The size of the players were different. There were so many things that it's hard to put it into context. But I guess that's our job. But yeah, if I had to say something, man, I would say that I know for a fact the old heads weren't gonna take the foot off the gas.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, the mentality of those guys. But nonetheless, I mean, this is still an impressive win for the USA. They did a lot of really good things in this one. I mean, to keep it going, they have the goal of trying to get the gold medal. And at the end of the day, that's what it matters. I mean, so you do see LeBron James coming out in this one. He had 12 points. Leading in the game was Bam Adebayo with 18, 14 from KD. So they were able to spread it around a little bit with, 6 players in double figures. So they got the showing that they might be looking for, and they might be able to hit the rhythm and keep it moving on in the group play.
I think even more so, you see the 6 players in double figures, as you mentioned, one with 8, one with 6. Everybody scored, everybody played. But I look at like the shot chart, and that's what it impresses me with this team, man. You got 4 from Tatum, 9 from LeBron, 7 from AD. Nobody took Bam Adebayo of all people took 10 shots. The only one with double figure shots. So they're sharing that thing. They're spreading the ball. 8 for 10 too as well. 18, 7 and 1, 2 blocks. They're spreading that ball around. They are playing. It might not be quite like European ball, but it's got the spirit of that international ball that a lot of people say Americans don't have.
Like I was saying in that test run, man, like we probably leave Joel off them pick and rolls, and we see he got that DMP, and we was like, all right, we're gonna let Bam and them, handle it out there so you can switch a little more. So Joel sat it down this game, and I'm sure he'll probably be back on, and we're gonna see who gets the next DMP, man. It's spreading like the coronavirus.
Is that how Kirk covers
DMP the new COVID, baby?
I was about, is that how Kirk kind of covers his bases now? Like somebody gonna get a DMP?
Hey, you might as well, man. I think this is his last run at it anyway. He ain't gotta see them till November. You good?
Man, but listen, the game has concluded. That leaves Serbia at 1-1, U.S. at the top of Group C, 2-0, South Sudan slides to 1-1. Puerto Rico is 0-2 in that group. Germany and France will face each other in the final round of Group B, both 2-0. A big game for seeding. Japan and Brazil playing for pride at 0-2. And in Group A, Canada coasting at 2-0. Australia 1-1. Spain is 1-1. Greece is 0-2. Greece in a must-win situation against Canada. No, excuse me. Greece in a must-win situation against Australia. And Canada and Spain in a big game as well. So a lot of implications, a lot of interesting matchups still to get to in this tournament, Rich.
A lot of good basketball. I couldn't wait to watch it. I mean, as you mentioned, Greece with Giannis, Nick Colaitis, so many really good players, but they're going to have to step up. They might need a little bit of help, too, to get out of the group, as you mentioned in that one. But it's going to be a tough one. As you say, who they got? Australia coming up in the next one? Australia coming up in the next one, right?
Australia and Greece, yep.
Yeah. So it's definitely going to be it's going to be something to see.
Who you liking that one, Goods?
Australia
runs away with it easy. Rich, who you like in the South Sudan, Serbia? Who's going to advance, man?
I'm going to go with Serbia. I think that Serbia just has, the experience in the tournament. They've been there before. This is a group that's obviously seems to be hungry and figured it out today when they played against Puerto Rico. So I'm going to have to go with Serbia. South Sudan did a good job in the opener. I think this kind of set them back a little bit playing against Team USA. But Serbia is going to get this next one.
You concur? You down there concurring? You just that's enough said.
Serbia. I think Serbia. They too disciplined, man. They clean.
I think South Sudan gonna walk away. I think they're gonna find a way to get it done. Man.
Really? How are they gonna do it?
Yeah, who gonna do it?
Who gonna do it? Well, as I mentioned earlier, Nooni Omat 24 points. I think they're gonna have to suffocate Serbia with their length. I think those wings are gonna be really important. I think you might see. I hope maybe you see a little bit of Kamal Maluak, maybe just to maybe spend some fouls on Jokic, try and disrupt his rhythm. Wenyen Gabriel's gonna have to have a big game. But I think South Sudan, man, they playing for a lot of pride.
So you betting on Gabriel
give down Joker. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say holding him down. That's not what I said. No, I said they're gonna have to throw bodies at my man. They're gonna have to throw bodies at him. Obviously, a lot of bodies. Kamal Maluak and Wenyen Gabriel amongst those bodies. Wenyen Gabriel yet to have really a good game at 7 turnovers tonight. But then I think Carlick Jones, Shyok, I expect them to bounce back. They've had 18 and 12, but on 8 of 19 shooting and 4 for 15 shooting respectively. I think those guys have big games. I think they give Serbia problems athletically. And I think, I'm going with South Sudan, man. What's happening?
I hope they win.
I'm going with South Sudan, man. That's it. But listen, man, this is the Role Player Podcast Watch Along presented to you by Swish Cultures. We appreciate y'all tuning in. We had a lot of fun. Really good guests, man. We had Kwame Brown with us today. We had Keith Langford. We had Nick Fazikis. Make sure y'all go follow along at Swish Cultures on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and all other social media platforms, X as well, and at Role Player Media on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and X as well. Richard Hendrix is with us. Anthony Goods is with us. I'm Jordan Taylor, man. We'll be back for the next game. United States is going to take on Puerto Rico in a game that doesn't have a lot of implication, but we hope y'all come and join us, man. Anything y'all want to say before I was talking a lot? Y'all want to sign off? Shout out your fans, man.
Hey, tune in to the next one, man. It's going to be even better. We'll have another guest on here. The show's going to get better and better. So no, you don't want to make sure you miss it.
August 3rd, baby.
Thank you. I'm not good with dates, man. Hey, appreciate y'all. We'll catch y'all next time, man. Shout out Vibes Golf Club too, man. My guys, Darius Feaster, Melvin Gordon, Wisconsin gang. What's happening?
All right, whatever. It's over.
Stop hating. Stop hating and get money.